So, the Parramatta Eels just took down the Penrith Panthers 32-18 last night, but could they have possibly taken down the whole season of the Penrith Panthers with Jarome Luai going down with a season-ending shoulder injury that could take out the whole hopes for a three-peat for the Penrith Panthers? You're probably thinking, Ash, what are you talking about? Jarome Luai, out of all players in this Penrith Panthers team, could he derail this whole season? And I honestly think that, no, the Penrith Panthers still have an amazing chance this season to go for the three-peat, but this makes it so much harder and also evens out the playing field to a whole lot of other teams in this competition. I already thought before this the Brisbane Broncos were going to have a massive chance against the Penrith Panthers in the final series in this one. But now I'm starting to see more hopes for teams like the Melbourne Storm, the Newcastle Knights out of all teams, the New Zealand Warriors, my New Zealand Warriors. We all have hope. And you may say that Jarome Luai out of all players, you may not like Jarome Luai. I see a lot of Jarome Luai hate, especially in the comment section of him going down and in the NRL physio chat and all that sort of stuff of the whole, he's not going to work next week. And, all that sort of stuff is fun and that. And I feel like, a lot of that does come with Jarome Luai playing the villain, playing that, the anime villain that he loves to play. And I don't honestly think he's that type of person in person. I honestly think that a lot of people see what he is for 80 minutes every time they see him on a pitch, 80 minutes, they see the worst side of Jarome Luai, because you got to think about it. These guys are warriors in their own way. They're going out there in a combat sport. If you don't agree if it's combat sport, it is what it is. But we're talking about a hard-nosed sport that possibly some of the toughest men in the world come against each other. They run 10 meters straight into each other. Talking about a guy that has competed in the top of each competition. He has won back-to-back grand finals. He has been to State of Origin and won State of Origin for the New South Wales Blues. He has won multiple big final series to take Samoa into the grand final of the World Cup, unfortunately going down to the best team in the world in the Australian Kangaroos, which is, a massive ask for a player of his stature. But even then, you kind of think, may say that he may not have a talent. I'm thinking that he's possibly the top 5, at least 5'8" in the game. And even if you take it a season where you look at, he has more try involvements this year than players like Adam Reynolds, Mitchell Moses, and Ben Hunt, which actually blows my mind. He actually has more try assists than Cam Munster, Chad Townsend, and Latrell Mitchell this season. And also has more tackle breaks than Valentine Holmes, Kalen Ponga, and Brian To'o this season. This is a player that takes so much out of this Penrith Panthers team, and we've seen it in multiple occasions. My first example to you, 18-4 down against the Parramatta Eels last night, and Jarome Luai comes off his left foot the way he knows how to, bounces off a couple of tackles and goes through to score a try and gets held up at a line, popping his shoulder out and ending that season. If that try went over, he could have possibly got the team back to 18-10 at the most with the conversion kick to go over. And that could have changed this whole game on its head, and he could have stayed on the field. The Parramatta Eels could have maybe lost this game to the Panthers at home. A whole lot of things would have changed it around, but it didn't go that way, and it's actually mental to think about. Or even if you want to take it a little bit further back, we had the Manly Seagulls go up against the Penrith Panthers, and this was a game that a lot of players, a lot of people out there, a lot of pundits actually claim that before this game, the Penrith Panthers looked close to invincible as more teams than any of it. And I would agree, they looked incredible for most of the season. But that game showed there was little holes. There was little things that people can attack on the Penrith Panthers this season. And the main reason that happened in that game, if you not noticed, that Jarome Luai did not run out on the park in that one. You'll probably also say to me, obviously, in the comment section down below, that what happened to the New South Wales Blues when Jarome Luai didn't play? And I would accept that, Jarome Luai didn't play Game 3 and he's won Game 3. But if you actually took that series as a whole, you guys can keep that opinion. It is what it is. We've seen series that Jarome Luai has taken over Origin, not taking over as a whole, but has played amazing in Origin and possibly won you guys series with Tommy Turbo, Latrell Mitchell, players like that. They played so amazing. They beat us by record margins in those ones. We're talking about a guy that has taken Samoa, I said to you before, Samoa, out of all teams, Samoa to a World Cup grand final, a team that now could be possibly up there with the Kangaroos and the Kiwis this year in the Tri-Nation series. He was one of those big reasons why this happened. And he has now been taken away from the Penrith Panthers. He was one massive key part to the Penrith Panthers. He honestly can change a game on his head with just his footwork, the way he just like, he's very off the cuff. You don't really know what's going through Jarome Luai's head. He's very much like Munster, just hasn't got much of the praise of what Munster actually gets. I mean, mainly because Munster has been doing it for such a long time, but Jarome Luai also gets that, like, you know, that villain card. So obviously, you know, players like Latrell Mitchell and all that won't get as much credit or what a Jarome Luai does. But I honestly do think that this takes away so much from the Penrith Panthers season this season and puts them back into that little grade where now, you know, the Broncos look like they could be favourites to win this season. I honestly think that this full strength Broncos side, judging on their next couple of weeks, obviously they got the Raiders this week, they got the Melbourne Storm next week. How could they run into the finals? Do they beat both those teams convincingly? No injuries. Everyone's running all right. You got the Melbourne Storm, that is a team that always takes it to the Penrith Panthers whenever they verse them, whenever they can. You even got teams like the Newcastle Knights this season that in both games against the Penrith Panthers, even though the Penrith Panthers in the second game had a lot of their players out, that first game was really, really tight. And even the second game was fairly tight for the most of it. So a player of his stature taken away out of that matchup just breathes so much fresh air into the competition. And it really sucks to say because I feel bad for a player to go down with injury, but I do think this is actually a massive part to the season. So comment down below your thoughts on Jarome Luai and this whole situation. Can the Penrith Panthers recover from this? Can the Penrith Panthers get into the grand final and win a three-peat this year without Jarome Luai? I think they can. It's just going to take a massive uphill battle, and it's just going to be a little bit more tougher than in years past. In years past, the Penrith Panthers have done pretty well without injuries. This is their big one. This is their big one into final series that they could lose their number one 5'8". Jack Cogger will come in to replace him. Whether you think Jack Cogger can do a good enough job, even being very much like a halfback. He's a player that plays really well in the systems, but the beauty of Jarome Luai is when those systems don't work, chuck it to Jarome. Jarome will just do something. That goes away now. Does Dylan Edwards become more of that piece now? Does that change it around? Comment down below your thoughts overall on this. It's just incredible. It's just crazy. And shout out to the Parramatta Eels as well for ending the season the way they did. Obviously, they got the bye next week. But man, like to end the season the way they did, Gutho on one leg, the way he played, Dylan Brown, the way he played in that game, Mike Acevo possibly had one of his better games this season. If the Parramatta Eels played more like that during the most of the season and more consistently, they honestly would be in a final series right now, possibly being in a top 4 race right now, currently in this competition. And I feel sorry for the Parramatta Eels because they really got shunned with a whole lot of really bad draw towards the start of the season. And then when you think about it, towards the end of the season, they had a really tough draw to even try to make it to the 8. So to be fair, they had moments. And obviously Origin, I feel like really hindered their season, especially coming against my Warriors at the time that they did. Obviously no Moses, no Gutho, a whole lot of players being out, Dylan Brown being out for the whole situation. Just a crazy season for the Parramatta Eels. But they could have possibly just shut down the Penrith Panthers, not meaning to, but before the final series even started. So that's pretty incredible to even think about. Thank you so much, guys, for always tuning into my channel. Please make sure you like, subscribe if you do enjoy. Please make sure you comment down below because I love a discussion down below in the comment section down below. And take it easy, guys. Have a good weekend. Peace out.